Thank you for joining us today. My name is Emily Pelley, and I am the Publications Coordinator for Ratio Christi Canada. Ratio Christi Press is the publishing arm of Ratio Christi, and they've put out some fantastic resources for university students and you, addressing some of the biggest apologetics issues of the day. And so we're talking about one of those booklets today. I'm joined by Dr. J.P. Moreland, who is the author of the booklet Science versus Scientism. So welcome, Dr. Moreland.
Emily, it's great to be with you.
Can you take a moment and introduce yourself? Let people know who you are.
I'm a distinguished professor of philosophy at Talbot School of Theology, that's within Biola University.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for being with us today. So let's jump into this booklet, shall we? As the title suggests, you do differentiate between science and scientism. So could you explain the difference between these two terms for us?
Absolutely. Science is a collection of disciplines that apply different methodologies, depending on if it's psychology or geology or physics, to study the natural world and also the mental world of psychological patients. So it's a set of disciplines that study reality, we might say, from a scientific perspective. Scientism is a philosophy. It's actually what's called an epistemology. That's a theory of what knowledge looks like and what it is. And it says that the only way we can know reality is through the hard sciences. Apart from that, there's no other way to know reality. Now, some who hold scientism will weaken that and say, well, we can have a little bit of knowledge of reality outside of science, but it's minimal compared to what we get through the hard sciences. And so whenever there's a conflict between a hard science and a claim in another field, the hard sciences win those debates all the time.
Right. Right. So in this booklet, you state the problem with scientism is the picture of knowledge it presupposes, that knowledge about reality comes solely from science. So help us understand why this is a problem.
Well, there are a lot of things that we know that don't come through science or measurements. For example, mathematics and logic. Those are not testable empirically. We don't say, you generally 2 + 2 = 4, as we've studied so far. No, we say it's necessarily the case that 2 and 2 is 4. And the laws of logic are necessary, and we know those by an intuitive grasp of the mind that doesn't involve the senses. Also, I know my own conscious life. I know I'm aware of myself. I am aware of what I'm thinking, but you can't see consciousness, you can't touch it or feel it, it's immaterial. And so if we're limited to what we can study in the hard sciences, we would have to treat ourselves as zombies. But we're not. We all know that we're embodied, but we're not the same as our body. And our conscious life is something that we have private access to. You can't know what's going on in my conscious life unless I tell you, but I have a way of knowing my conscious life by just direct awareness. And so consciousness could not be known if we were limited to the hard sciences. Also, I might say that science has a whole number of presuppositions. Not a single one of them can be tested scientifically, like what is truth? What is knowledge? How does one know when one has knowledge? And things of that sort.
Right. Okay, so what damage, if any, do you see that scientism has done for followers of Christ? Has this ideology been problematic for the church today?
It's been horrifyingly troublesome because we base our lives on what we think we know. It isn't just our beliefs, because our beliefs are based on things that we think we've got good reason to hold. If I'm trying to decide between 2 houses to buy, I'll try to figure out the one that's got the best neighborhood and the roof's better and so on. And I might make the wrong decision, but my knowledge of the roof and all these things yields a belief that says to me, well, I think that house is more reasonable than that one. And so Christian scientism tells us that there's no such thing as theological knowledge or biblical knowledge. It's completely blind faith based on emotion. Now, because you can't test so many of the claims scientifically. Now, there are other ways of knowing them, but look at what that'll do to people. It'll make them realize, well, I don't really know if God is real, and I don't have any idea real. I can't know the Bible's any kind of special document. I surely don't know that Jesus rose from the dead. So I'm going to have to take these things by blind faith, but that won't sustain a life, because if it comes down to a Christian claim or something that's popular in the culture, people are going to go with what's popular in the culture because they don't really believe Christian claims that seriously. They don't take, it's more of a hobby. And so it also robs Christians of courage because they're afraid to share their faith because they're afraid they'll get asked a question, and they don't know why they believe what they believe because scientism says you can't know why you believe. And so people are hunkered down and they're afraid, they don't have courage because they don't know that there are other ways of knowing that are relevant to knowing that Christianity is true.
Right. Okay, so what advice would you offer to fellow believers when they inevitably interact with these ideas of scientism in society today?
Well, the first thing I would do is get the booklet that we're talking about here. It's a quick read, but I think it gives the reader enough not to be intimidated by scientism any longer. And then I think what they need to do is begin to read some very simple apologetic books, which are about defending the faith. And you can go on Amazon and Google apologetic books and try to look and see which ones might be lower level for beginners. Learning why you believe. It's not important just what you believe. It's also important to know why you believe that. And so you need to start investigating the foundations of our Christian ideas. And that requires just doing a little homework and reading.
Yeah, fantastic. I agree. Okay, so tell us, what are you working on now?
Well, I just published a book with one of my colleagues at Biola University, David Horner, who did his DPhil at Oxford, and we wrote a book that just came out on what's called metaethics. And a metaethics is the study of ethics itself. It isn't trying to solve. That's what's called normative ethics. Metaethics asks the question, when we make a moral claim, is it true? Or is it just an expression of feeling? Suppose we make a moral claim and we say something like, kindness is a virtue. Well, are we making a statement about reality? And if we are, is it about physical reality, or is it about something that's completely non-physical, like virtues appear to be intrinsically valuable, and nothing that science studies is intrinsically valuable or normative. It doesn't tell us what we ought to do. It just describes what is the case. And so it's important to understand why these things are in line with a Christian worldview without borrowing from Christianity to justify these basic assumptions of ethics that negated. And so our book does that, and it explains the question, why should I care about being moral? I mean, what's the point? If it's between doing the right thing and doing something in my best interest, if I don't get caught, I'll just do what's in my best interest. Why is that wrong? And we address those questions there.
Fantastic. Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing with us today. So, Science versus Scientism, written by Dr. J.P. Moreland. If you'd like to grab a copy of this booklet, you can go to press.ratiochristi.org, or if you are here in Canada, you can go to press.ratiochristi.ca. So thank you so much, Dr. Moreland.
Thank you.